Jifundishe, elimika na mwelimike.
Africa with the intention to steal our culture. The good for the post by and say, humble yourself, my little one. Humble yourself, my children. Humble yourself. Oh, my brother, while you're done, me loving Africa, love my nation, my interpretation, love universal. Love in Africa, love in America, love in Canada. Whoa. Down in this valley, down in this valley, down in this valley of Jamaica. Where is your love, Jamaica? Where is your love, Jamaica? Where is your love, Jamaica? I can see your love, I can feel your love. Try to touch your love, I don't know about your love. Who shall not enter? These are all alone. We walk on a true monster, sipping from the cup of peace. Chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation. Chant down no Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation.
Still in. CLI, greetings. Greetings from the Metamorphosis. Your host, Dr. Iman Blak. Black without any lack. Get it right. Yes, give thanks for the occasion, an opportunity to present another edition of the journey into self-exploration. Hail up all those who are on the land and those who are off the land and those who are in cyberspace holding some groundation somewhere. Here in Jamdown, we're in the ending of a month. So within the metamorphosis, the lines are usually open at the end program of the month. So you can make an input before the program is out. It's 453-1444 locally. And overseas, it's 954-338-7973. Got it right this time. So a lot of things happening in the globe, a lot of things happening locally. So we just give you an opportunity to make an input, either on what you see and observe or what I have been saying and you don't agree with. Or you choose to agree with and you can say why or why not. But the month of October is the month that we use to celebrate the heroes, and I will use this last program in the month to examine not just the political heroes that were created by the state, but the heroes that I can identify within the tradition of Rastafari. The journey of Rastafari is a much different journey from the Jamaican citizen per se. Different journey. So between 1930, which is really the crowning of His Majesty, and 1966, thereabouts, with the massacre in Montego Bay of Rastafari, we're talking about 35, 36 years. And so within that now, certain men emerge in that struggle against oppression. And them man, they know, I think Rastafari should have their own pantheon of heroes. So though we respect the Bogles and the Sharps, their dispensation was a bit different because they never really tried Rastafari. They were all still Christians, and they still all adhere to the principle of a Jesus that looked like a European, etc., etc. Rastafari come and burn that out and pose a different challenge to the status quo. So within that struggle that still goes on, even the remnants of the ganja struggle that the state has now controlled, is Rastafari feel the brunt and the brutality and the oppression against the plant. Now the plant is being shared up among corporate Jamaica and the power structure, and the Rasta community that has felt the prison sentences and the burden are now left out to become consumers of the agent that is coming out of creation. It's in the earth. It doesn't go through any manufacturing process. So within the program, I will be exploring some of the heroes and sheroes within Rastafari. I just want to mention two that you can begin to look at for your own self. One is the foundation to the Jamaican experience of Rastafari, which is Howell, Leonard P. Howell, the foundation for the industrial state that was at Sligoville in St. Catherine, at Pinnacle. And we want to also maybe find some time to examine another man called Claudius Henry. Yeah, they don't teach us about these heroes and what is it they have done and why is it, how is it Claudius Henry became the first man in Jamaica ever to be tried for treason. Yeah, treason. And him and him, enough of him wife and family, enough of them felt the gallows. And we have to know what is it them man they stand up for. You know, them man they come also speaking about Haile Selassie and the Black Jesus and the Black Christ. And that was very revolting to the state and still is today. So we're going to look at the heroes within Rastafari, because those heroes cannot be the heroes that Rome proposed. I also want to start with a global look, because some things happening now that you can't just stay in a Jamaica and go on like say they are foreign. Because of this medium and the way the world communicates now, everything that's foreign is local too. And things that happening locally, the news that reach foreign before the local people even hear it. So there is this movement in the earth of people. One word to sum up all the movement of the people is migration. And the globe is now experiencing a whole leap of migratory movements. And there are reasons, there are causes why people migrate. And in the present time, one of the main causes for migration is war. And a lot of these wars are orchestrated and calculated and set up in a different way, but there are victims of the war, and oftentimes the victims end up being migrants. So we have something to look at, because there's a thing happening in Central America heading for the United States, and the white media has chosen to call it a caravan. These are supposed to be asylum seekers, but they're now being classified as a caravan. A caravan gives the impression that our clowns are there. It also makes me wonder whether Moses, in his journey out of Egypt, was leading a caravan too. Yeah, maybe the Exodus that we read about was just simply a caravan. A few hundred people, maybe a few thousand people on the way out. So we're going to examine the whole concept of migration, forced migration, and the effect of war, like the war in Syria, and the wars being fought in and around Venezuela, and the various wars in Africa. Why so many black people have to be making a journey across this Mediterranean, treacherous waters, and returning to slavery, all of those things. So we want to look at the heroes, we want to look at migration. And then in the last program, I was trying to open up the discussion to examine blasphemy. And then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, blasphemy was removed from the constitution in the country of Ireland. The people then vote out blasphemy. So it looks like it's something that you can vote in and vote out. Yet all black people who are locked up under Christianity are suffering under the whip and the burden of committing blasphemy. Yeah, that unforgivable sin. Well, Ireland has taken that unforgivable sin off the books. So open a discussion as to what are these sins, and are they just simply man-made to suit certain events? But to really go into the essence of the reason, we want to come closer to home in terms of Jamaica and what's happening in North America. Because Trump land is undergoing some serious examinations. And it all revolves around the violence, it revolves around power, it revolves around race. And there are two events that we want to really use to enter the discourse. One is this character who them say come from Florida, who was sent out a series of bombs in the mail. These bombs are all fake. None of them could explode. But they're all sent to one party. And there's an election coming up in America in another few days, midterm elections. And this is creating a whole different kind of panic in the democracy that we are hearing is supposed to be the symbol of the world's greatest democracy. This brethren here now, who they nailed in Florida, they accuse him of allegedly being the mail bomber. The funny thing about it is that none of these bombs could have exploded, and it looked like it's a political ploy. But it puts the country of America now in a different light. And then to add to the misery, a man go into a synagogue and let off some gunshot and kill 11 people, including 3 or 4 policemen. And while firing him shots, he said, "Death to all Jews." So it's a massacre. And the massacre has a tone that has a religious, political tone to it. Now, nobody can glorify those type of killings. But as an African black man looking on and remembering what happened in Birmingham, when the white men threw bombs into the church and killed the little black girls praying, it was no big deal. The God of Abraham overlooked that and could forgive that bomber. And our children died. A couple months ago, Dylan Roof walked into a church, another little white youth, and slaughter some black people, and they capture him and carry him off and carry him to the hamburger stand. And he had some hamburgers. And the first thing that happened was the black people got up and forgive him. Before him even done eat the hamburger, he was being forgiven by those who were members, family members of the people who died in that church. This is black people now, you know. As soon as we are attacked, immediately we forgive, even before the gun cool off. We forgive the killers, these white killers, because we must have mercy. Well, I want to see if this last shooting now in the synagogue, if the Jews are going to come together and tell us that they forgive this killer and that the Lord will take care of him in his time. Or are they going to seek immediate vengeance and death? In other words, now, when them trouble we, black people, we pray and we forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. And when anything is done to them, it's like when bees attack you, not one, it's a whole hive. So we have to question our response now to this incident and how these events happening now in the house of God. And in the house of God, violence now has found a place. And yet, the Jews have their concept of one God. The Muslims have their concept of one God. Yet, the two groups are at war in the name of that one God. So the metamorphosis will also explore this nature of this one God versus the reality and probability of many gods. Metamorphosis.
God shall not enter this arena. It is a shall enter. Is the son of Eve from Bozra? It is garments steeped in blood. All I know is that Jordan River Jordan River I go roll, I go roll, I go roll. Jordan River let it roll, let it roll, must roll. Jordan River Jordan River I go roll, I go roll. Jordan River I go roll, I go roll. Roll Jordan River, roll Jordan River, roll Jordan River. Let it roll, let it roll, let it roll. Roll Jordan River, Jordan River, roll Jordan River, roll River Jordan, roll, roll River Jordan, roll, roll River Jordan, roll River Jordan. Roll, I go roll, my black brothers and sisters, waging up on higher land, back from both old and sinner, be side by side, sing out this song at River Jordan side. Jordan River gonna roll, Jordan River gonna roll, gonna roll. No wicked shall enter this arena. The fittest of the fittest shall enter. We can shall not enter. We can shall not enter. Enter this arena. Now people come see Jordan River.
Yes, metamorphosis is here. Gather your vibrations and hold it in one place for a few minutes. Now I want to begin by looking at these events happening at the global level. Things that are happening even within the realm of climate and the weather and the violence of the earth itself. A violence meaning the earthquakes. A place like Trinidad, which is not far from us, experiencing almost like an earthquake every other day now. And Jamaica been having a series of rumbles. And so the planet itself is undergoing its own revenge on the human beings on the surface who have chosen to have no respect for the environment and think that this ancient writing about somebody wrote in a book that man has dominion over all things is a man wrote that. And he was writing it to justify his own position. That this idea of dominion over all things now suggests that there is no respect for all things. And everything must be able to be dominated, including the environment and nature. But nature have a way to absorb, absorb nearly everything, just like how the sun is there and the skin absorb, but there's a time when it reaches a point of saturation. So like you have a sponge and you begin to put water in it, it holds water, and it holds water to get to a certain point now to when the sponge starts drip. When the sponge starts drip, now it reach beyond saturation. It's super saturated, so it have a leg of what it hold on. It can't hold no more. Well, it looks like the earth can't take no more. You can't take no more of those rocket launches and those nuclear experiments underground and all the bombardment in the atmosphere. The environment begs. So what do? It vomit and it belch. And it's fire and flood and water and destruction to the people on the surface. Now, those are elements that happen in nature, but much of what we experience now is caused by human beings. And human beings, specifically the Europeans and the Americans. And why they're at the front of the responsibility is that they went through a thing called the Industrial Revolution from the 1700s. After them rape Africa of all the resources that they needed, human beings, Africans, minerals, then bring everything to Europe to build Europe as an empire. So there was all of a devastation on the earth in that process. Enough trees got chopped down to make wood, to make paper. And the man them ravaged the earth. And they began to develop them industrial societies, and enough pollution started going into the heavens. And it was going on for 10, 20, 30 years. Because they call it the industrialized revolution, and Europe was becoming highly civilized. Well, in that civilization, the environment suffered. Years ago, we started hearing about a thing called the ozone layer. And that the ozone layer was having holes in it. Now we know what it's all about. It's all from the chemicals that are used on the earth that go up into the atmosphere, reach a level that you buck up in a layer that is there by nature to protect the earth from the more deadly, harmful radiation. A man do enough things to bore a hole in that, to let in more radiation than what the people on the earth can manage. So the first set of people who suffer from that is white people. The first set of people who suffer from overexposure to radiation is white people, because them skin not make to take them kind of levels of radiation. So it backfiring on the white people. Them having a whole of skin cancers, whole heap of ailments, and then there is a climatic factor now of whether the place getting warmer, the polar caps releasing more water, sea levels rising. All of these things are on the horizon. And so we have to look into migration now. People respond to those events, and they respond to violence in them country. They respond to oppression in them country, because people don't leave them country if they are prospering in it. People don't get up and leave them country just because. The motive is always and usually to upgrade themselves or them family, to improve them security, the basic things that everybody want. So we have a set of people now who are on the march. And because America established itself as this land of opportunity, most of the underdeveloped world and people of the underdeveloped world look to America as the land to put down them foot, to get a chance. So there's this massive movement coming through Central America, where people realize that they don't have a much chance in their own land, and America is the place they must go. Well, they're heading there. These people are not being classified as asylum seekers, because here comes the power structure. They defined the type of category that people must be placed in when them escaping from difficult situations. And the argument is that if the situation is not life-threatening, you're not supposed to leave. But that is relative. Life-threatening. It can be politically life-threatening. It can be economically life-threatening. But let us not be naive, because with all of these definitions, there is a racial factor involved. There is a racial factor. When the Africans on the move out of their condition heading into Europe, they are called migrants, and they are called all kind of names, and that they are also captured and sold as slaves. When the white people were leaving Europe, running from the oppression of them own white men, and they went to America, they weren't refugees. They didn't see themselves as refugees. They were colonizers. And those are the persons who eventually now end up telling you how to classify other people. So in other words, the migration definition thing is tricky. We have a lot of Syrians who are on the move for the last maybe 10 years, driven by war. And the Syrians have occupied Turkey, they've occupied a lot of the countries in the Middle East, quote-unquote, region. And what these migration movements do sometimes destabilize governments to the point where Europe is now having a great problem with this migration thing. Because people are now coming into their space and they claim that they're coming in with a different religion and a different culture. So the Europeans who at one time spoke about multicultural societies, they are now retreating. They're not in that no more. They are now defending nationalism and their ethnic group. So within the migratory movement of people, there is conflict, there is struggle, and ultimately, a lot of money is being made out of these type of movements. So people leave Jamaica and they seek a better standard of living in the United States. People leave Haiti to come to Jamaica for the same purpose. So we need a different attitude to migration. And the attitude to migration will only change when we begin to remove the issues of race out of that equation and realize that it's really people in search for a better way of life. And let us look into the migration thing in a very constructive way, because when the Haitians come to Jamaica, we put up an attitude that here comes disease and here comes germs and here comes bad luck. But when we go to North America, we want to be welcome. It's hard to have it both ways. We have to look into the raciality of the thing. And what is it that is moving the black population? And how is it they are received when they went to these lands? Another thing about migration, the black people in America have to remember that the first set of blacks who went to America didn't enter America as immigrants. And they didn't enter the America as refugees. They were brought to America as slaves. So we have all of these categories. And once you are brought in as a slave, you have to recognize that you will never be recognized as part of the society in terms of governance. You have to begin to reflect on where did you migrate from? Where is your homeland? What can you do to upgrade your homeland in this time? Because every fig standing on its own, and all nations are drawing into themselves. So as much as migration is outward, we need a mental migration where the mind begins to move towards Africa psychologically. Metamorphosis.
Come along, my brother, come along. Let us do the things we supposed to do for our mother. Come along, my sister, come along too. But if we should live up in the live up in there. And if we should live up live up in the hills, and if we should live up in the hills, live up in the hills, the hills, and if we should live up in the hills, my brother, go to the river to carry the water. My sister wash up the dishes. She even goes to the shop and bring in the grocery. When my smaller brother run around and pick up the bramble to keep the fire blazing, to keep my fire blazing, blazing fire, fire. Should live up in the hill, and if we should live up in the hill, and if we should live up in the hill, my mother had that girl, work my mother for your children. My mother had that girl, work my mother for your children. My daddy, he's gone way over, far over, working up the cultivation, coming with food, daddy, coming daddy, come with food, come. And if we should live up in the hills, live up in the hills, the hills. And if we should live up in the hills, this is the sounds of the hills. The sounds of the hill, sounds of the hill, and if we should live up in the hills, and if we should live up in the hills, and if we should live up in the hills, and if we should live up in the hills.
Metamorphosis continuing. We are on the ground, and the Rastaman version of life is always grounded in the hills, and within the context of the climate movement and the change, the hills seem like the place to be now, because all of the coastlines are being predicted that in a short time these coastlines will be underwater. So even in the planning of our society, you have to take into consideration what is now happening in the climate factors and the fact that people are moving. So migration is a great issue now in Europe, and it's causing governments now to lose them power. And it's allowing other forces to rise. And it's not just in Europe, because even in a place like Brazil, there is now a new president, and he represents almost like Trumpism now in Brazil, in South America. Same way you call right-wing mentality. So there's a great struggle against migration. And the migration is always about the people moving from the underdeveloped world to the world where there seems to be a larger economy. But those who are wealthy also migrate all around the world in their movements. Them call it tourism. Yeah, and in their touring of the world, it's considered to be an industry. And people have to hustle off of them within that industry. So the whole notion of what's happening now with the people moving out of Venezuela, marching and heading to where it looks like a greener land, how do you resolve that? How do you get the people in their own country to be able to have a quality standard of life? The same question applies to Jamaica. Just that we don't have no caravan, but we have had our own periods of exodus. What about had an exodus in the late 70s? And we have been having a steady streaming of Jamaicans leaving the country. Professional workers, students, children. So it's difficult now to claim that, it's the people who are migrating, coming into societies and creating problems, because most of the industrialized societies were built upon migrant labor. So I said at a time ago that people should stay home and build them lands. But at the same time, if your land's not providing the resources, you have no choice but to move. So there will always be migration. And the politics will always be there, and the questions of loyalty will always be in the heads of the individuals. Where do you show loyalty? To which piece of land? Is the land that you land on now that you find this opportunity? Can it be the same place where you have to leave from because there was no opportunity there? So we have to resolve these things, because if ultimately, we have to have a sense of identity to be able to claim somewhere for home. And the way the world running now, black people, if you try to claim North America as your home, you're on the wrong page. And if you're in the UK and you don't see what's happening around you, and you call UK your home, you too are a lost soul. So we're saying you have to live somewhere through migratory movements, but I'm saying the idea must have a concept of where is your home. And the home doesn't have to be exactly where you live. It has to be a place where you psychologically know that there is strength and resolve and a history and a culture in that place. So Africa is the foundation. So when we're going through these experiences, we have to realize where the home is. And now I think great opportunities are being created on the continent itself. That the people who are Africans now can build their own empire right on the continent. We need some of the attitude right here in Jamaica too. But it's a leadership issue. I wonder now if there is another country in the world where the leaders have documents that make them able to live in another country. In other words, now, are there other countries where leaders have dual citizenship? Does that exist in Jamaica? Because if it exists here, we'll never have a commitment from leadership. If our leaders can have a green card, then it means them have one foot in the migratory stage. Them half migrating. So the politics should show your commitment and your loyalty, and that you're not really up to migrate just because the country get a kind of way. The leaders have to show more commitment to that. So if you're a leader and you have a green card to the United States, your constituencies should know that you're not fully here. You're migratory. You can move anytime. We need leadership that is stable and committed. Metamorphosis. I'm just wondering, with all the mass shootings in the United States, over 100 and maybe 150 mass shootings in America, yes, that land that you love. How many of those shooters have been black people? Yeah, out of that 100 and odd mass shootings in the US of A, how many of those fingers that pull those triggers belong to black hands? How many belong to Muslims? How many belong to illegal immigrants? The answer is 0. All of those mass killers have been white men. Yes, white men. They don't call it white and white crime. They call them crazy or lone wolf. But you know, if ever any of these shooters ever uncover, if any of these shooters were ever black people, the entire black population in America will be under total terrorism. Because that is how they move. They move like wolf in a pack. You attack one, all them attack you. Black people, we are the only set of people who beg forgiveness instantly and will not seek instant revenge because we leave in all vengeance to the Lord. We have to tap and think more along the line of race. How does the concept of race influence behavior in societies and in the political structure and within the economic world? There are some very naive people who are trying to dismiss the idea that race exists, calling it a social construct and blah, blah, blah. We are all one thing. They say there's no race, but them calling everybody one human race. So there's a serious conflict. How can there be no race yet everybody is a human and the humans belong to one race? It's a conflict. It's an attempt to knock black people off them conscious foundation, which is them race. And the race is being black and African. But there is a serious reaction to the Western world, to blackness, ever since. And it manifests itself in societies. When we talk about identities, whether it's religious identity, gender, or race. So looking at the United States now and looking at the trauma that the people have been subjected under through politics. So this white youth go into a church and kill off 11 people and them take him alive. You know, say, policeman shoot black man trying to get away. Them kill black man stand stationary. Them kill we try to run away. It no matter what I and I do, once them come into our context with them weapons, it's death. But when them go amongst one another, they always find a way to keep the shooter alive. You know, a brethren send all these bombs and them go for him and them take him alive. This brethren here, you know, kill up our policeman in the process and them take him alive because he was a lone wolf connected to nobody else. But this is when the black man them ready to be brutalized by the same law enforcement. It's a serious situation. Now you have some women now going around in America calling up the police every time them reporting black people doing this, black youth selling ice cream, a black man watching sports and them cheering him son on, them call the police. A woman goes into a store and a little 9-year-old boy goes into the store and the boy have a backpack on and bounce the woman and the woman call the police, say the boy fondling her butt. Now, these white people should be arrested for public mischief and creating psychological distress on black people. Yeah, they just call the police when them feel like. And when the police come, they know that the odds are that the black man will be brutalized. So it's an awakening. It's an awakening. And those who are willing to keep sleeping will feel the wrath. So when you attack the church, which is the house of God, and kill black people in the church, it's not a sin. It's a mischievous child. It's a white youth who was misguided. We have to wake up, you know. Because when the bombs reach we, as black people, we don't have nowhere to turn to. We return to know it's prayer. And the prayer must be sent to the same God that we have been told by the same man that is our protector. So the resistance will always be there. And the resistance in a place like Jamaica now shows up early within the culture. And it is Rastafari now who would bring the nature of blackness to the front of the table again. Because the British were sure that they had wiped out all traces of blackness. Everybody had become Anglican. Those who weren't Anglican were Catholic. And in those two religions, you don't discuss race. You read Bible stories, and in the beginning, Adam had no race. Eve had no race. The children had no race. It's a raceless story book. And then ultimately, the children of Cain have no race. And then the world is wiped out, and here comes Noah. And out of Noah now, all the race is going to come. Him and his 3 sons, and so 8 people going to produce all the race then, but then there is no race. But they tell the black people now that we are a descendant of Ham. So them give back the race concept and tie you up now with a mythical character now named Ham and Noah. So is there such a thing as race, or is there not? Is there such a concept as race, or is there not? And if there is no concept of race, how can we speak about racism? What does that mean? So it means that we have to begin to take race seriously. The way Garvey did project it, and the way Mao Zedong projected, where them say race first. So the black people in Jamaica now, who were in denial of their blackness and oppression, couldn't claim blackness. Couldn't claim it. Because it was associated now with evil and destruction. And you're black like sin. And you're black like tar. You're black like Satan. It is Rastafari who come to the front to begin to put a sheen on being black. And so it was an instant problem with the society that governed. Instant problem. Who are these cultists claiming not only about them being black and African, them claiming that them have a divinity that is also black? No, this is preposterous. Where and how could these descendants of slaves come up with these ideas about black man being divine and about divinities coming out of Africa and Egypt and all them? Where them get them things from? Well, Leonard P. Howell is perhaps the first of the heroes within the Jamaican historical context when we talk about Rastafari. Leonard P. Howell. Because Leonard P. Howell recognized Africans were Africans, whether here or in the continent. And they realized that the state of Jamaica, governed by the white and the British, had no interest in African people. No interest in black people. And we don't know if that has changed. And Howell will set up the template for self-government. Yeah, Howell set up the template right there in Pinnacle. Moving along the principles of Garvey and self-reliance. And we just need to know, to recognize now what happened at Pinnacle. What did the state of Jamaica do to the Rastafarians at Pinnacle? What happened to that economic society? Was it any different from what happened to the Black Wall Street? Metamorphosis.
Business operators, local and overseas. This announcement is for you.
Styles FM is an internationally known radio network with worldwide listeners in over 120 countries.
From our studio in Port Antonio, Jamaica, to the ears of the people in your community, our listeners can be your new customers.
Styles FM is an economical, efficient, and effective advertising option for your business.
No matter the size of your business, there's always growth potential. Styles FM provides the customer reach needed to realize that upward movement.
So procrastinate no more. Advertising is a must.
For more details on how to advertise with Styles FM, visit www.stylesfm.com or email info@stylesfm.com or call us on 876-518-2399.
Styles FM, the world listens.
Great news, everyone. DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies located at 44 William Street, Port Antonio. Now open every Sunday from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Stop in and beat the Monday crowd. Get the same great service on a more convenient day. Doing some work on a Sunday, run out of material? No need to worry. DIB Hardware will be there to serve you. Still the #1 supplier in Portland of building materials, hardware supplies, kitchen and bathroom finishes. DIB Hardware, Port Antonio. Now open this and every Sunday, 44 William Street, Port Antonio. See you there.
It's Wow Factor Tuesdays with Chungy and Shelly. Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's entertainment and interaction at its best. With features like the Share to Care segment, the Uprising 10 Countdown, and the ever-controversial Love Break. Yes, it's the Wow Factor. Your Tuesday mornings will never be the same again.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Ditchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
It's not what you expect me to say, but I'ma go ahead and say it anyway. 'Cause I was told I would reach further if the color of my skin was lighter, and I was made to feel inferior. 'Cause society said brown girls prettier. Me love the way me look, me love me pretty black skin. Respect you to me strong melanin. Proud of me color, love the skin that I'm in. Born racism, demolish colorism. But the things when me go say, you might not even love me back. I get hate from my own race, yes, that's a fact. 'Cause the same black people, them say I'm too black. And if you bleach out your skin, them same one come a chat. Well, since you say that I'm too black for you, I please you, do I look how you want me to? Now I'm gonna see if you're gonna say I'm too brown for you, or do I look pretty to you?
Yeah, that is the sound of a song that is making the rounds, causing people to have all sort of reflections. But at the foundation of that song, I think it deals with the identity crisis on this island and the whole notion of how we still view black. What is the concept of black in the minds of the majority of this population? And how long now we've been struggling to assert blackness as a positive force in Jamaica, and how long now that idea has been rejected, and that the people have become hypocritical in claiming that they adore those who are natural and black, but deep down desire to have partners and friends who are not. So the whole struggle for black identity, I am saying, the foundation to that struggle is Rastafari. Because prior to the Rastafarian intervention, in other words, from the 1800s coming right through, it's all about whiteness. Society dominant in 96% of black people, but them pouring 4% of milk, and it just water out the coffee, and we get brown out. So it's hard to claim the blackness in a coffee if you keep pouring milk in it. So we have a 96% black population, but they tell us that it's 4% is the other racial groups, and they are the ones who control the economy, but it's out of the many, which is us, come them the one. So the black population has no identity here because it's submerged under the thing called the motto. It's out of many one thing, submerged the fact that it is a black population of 96% African people. So there's only many here is the 90%, 96%. So the 5% who hide in to make up the rest of the 100 and then calling everybody one is a deception. Because if everybody was one, everybody should be enjoying the benefits of the entire island. But that's not the way it is. We have the 96% scrounging. And with that 96%, you have a 6% who living nearly like the 4%. And you have 90% now battling for survival, even though them working. So the black thing in Jamaica now has been hidden because of we claim that the population is in the majority, so we call it now colorism. They call it colorism, but colorism is no different from racism. It's just that you're coming from your own type, so it don't look as if it's based upon the race that you're from, but it's your own race hypocritical to their own self. So them hate them own looks. Enough black people hate them own looks and desire to be looking like others. And subconsciously them fighting this battle. Well, Rastafari in the 1930s, under the inspiration of Leonard P. Howell, really started a back to blackness movement. People would think that Howell started a back to Africa movement. That movement started in the United States long before Howell came on the scene. But Howell seemed to have ignited a back to black consciousness movement. Yeah, a black consciousness movement, which is anatomic. It is a pain and a stabbed into the side of the society. How dare you come here and come talk about black and black this and black that? So Leonard Howell now is a foundation and one of the early heroes in the Rastafari tradition. Leonard Percival Howell, and he was known as the Gang. So when you hear Bob Marley take on the title of the Gang, is this where the sound coming from? El Gang. So Howell was known as the Gang, or Mirage, Gigi Mirage. And he was considered to be a religious figure. Now, it's 1981 he died, you know. And the man who writes some very important books. One of the important books is a book called The Promise Key. Now, Leonard Howell understood economics. He understood the importance of money. And so within the pinnacle community, trading and financing was a vibrant activity. Because Howell had lived abroad. Howell never just get up and things he was going pray all day and then things was going to come out of the sky. He was a practical man. So Howell now is the first person in public to articulate the divinity of Haile Selassie. Right? It's Howell now started the teachings in 1933. So it's the first time now a black man openly deifying another black man. This other black man now was the emperor of Ethiopia. And Howell had no reservation about deifying Haile Selassie. And it's not a strange practice because the other religions, Catholic Church and other bodies, they also create saints and all kind of people in the hierarchy long after them dead. While alive, Howell cite up Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, to be the incarnation of God. And this is what caused the eruption at that time, and that's what caused an eruption today. So here is it now, a black man bringing to the people the concept of a reincarnation manifested to the Emperor of Ethiopia. So, according to Howell and his followers, Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia was the Black Messiah. So, it conflicts automatically now with the traditional Bible Christians. Because the Bible Christians are waiting for a Messiah to come and they're looking for a white man with blue eyes and long skin and thin lips and them things there. A black man will come and say, no, Him say, Haile Selassie is our black Messiah. The incarnation of God predicted by the biblical prophecy. And how we'll turn to the Bible. And how we'll identify the descendants of King David and King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. And then realize the lineage. And it reinforced his claim that he had identified the supreme black king. No, you just imagine Jamaican government at the time and the Jamaican church. A total panic. Total panic. Because what this man's saying now goes totally against what they have been telling us for the last 2,000 years. And inspiring people to change them thought process. So Rastafari now would become a forever problem in the consciousness of this Jamaican society, because Rastafari come to promote and encourage the black people on this island to think within them blackness and to appreciate, love them blackness and to have a connection to Africa. Well, you know, say the state would plot and scheme, and the whole objective was to destroy Pinnacle and to destroy Rastafari. Now the document goes on that speaks to Claudius Henry now. It says Jamaica's whites and government officials were at first only amused in that October when a self-anointed Negro holy man, the Reverend Claudius Henry R.B., and R.B. stands for Repairer of the Breach. Claudius Henry stirred an estimated 20,000 bearded cultists into a back to Africa frenzy. No one paid much attention. Even when Henry's Rastafarians pranced about holding aloft an empty platter they swore would hold Premier Norman Manley's head if he blocked their way. And the police raid how it set up. And they said they found a cache of firearms and cement-packed conch shells. And that the Rastafarian church was now a spot of threat to the state. And the government decided that Claudius Henry was the man responsible for threatening the state. They say Claudius Henry wrote a letter to Fidel Castro asking him to come and help him to overthrow this government. Claudius Henry was arrested on the charge of treason. First ever in the history of the Jamaican court system where a man is tried for treason. Him and his wife and a whole heap of his brethren. And that part of our story is never told, because this is a real black hero. We're talking about Leonard P. Howell. We're talking about the building of Pinnacle as a community and as an economic center. And the fact that the army marched into Pinnacle. And when them done, Rastafari scatter. But we still behold within the tradition Leonard P. Howell, one of the first heroes within the Rastafari tradition. And then we shall also now speak of Claudius B. Henry. There are there. We have recognized what Rastafari has been, not just as a religious movement, but as a political and economic movement. Metamorphosis.
Pure beauty, where blessing awaits for us. us all. And if your heart is clean, I know you will redeem in the land of the black, gold, and green. It is a land that is holy, the holiest land you'll ever see. And if we unite as one, I know we can understand about the land of the black, gold, and green. Holy, 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 the holiest land you'll ever see. Holy, 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 yes, it's a land of liberty. There you will see freedom and liberty. And if you carry yourself well, your children you will tell about the land of the black, gold, and green. Holy, 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 the holiest land you'll ever see. Holy, 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 yes, it's a land of liberty. Yes, it's the land of the black,
this land of the black, gold, and green. I realize again, those colors each have their symbolic meaning. And when those who run the plantation were handing over the thing to their puppets to run the government, and they came up with these colors to symbolize our identity as a new nation. All the colors carry a symbol. And they say, well, the gold represents the sunshine, and the green represents the vegetation. Virgin Cassidy, you know what the black represents in the flag? Eh? Hard times, hardship, suffering, rough times, just with black. Yeah, you see it? So they make the equation in language now. So even within the motto and the symbol of the flag, there is an inbuilt oppression to maintain black people feeling inferior about themselves. So it took Rex Nettleford. It was sometime, must have about the 1990s, when it started to get so obvious that this black for hardship not resonating in the people. I think the government asked Nettleford to come up with a different interpretation. And the professor came up with black meaning strong and resilient and all those things. But it's too late. Because the sound has been programmed in from 1962. And so unconsciously the people them see black as hardship. And therefore white is deliverance. Yeah, it's a long time they've been playing with the brain and the mind of the black people here. So race has been diminished as a construct that is forceful. And we have this thing now called colorism. It's a sort of euphemism, it's a sort of different way to say racism, but you don't want to say racism because you and a man, two are supposed to be black, but one blacker than the other. So the one who is blacker is lesser now than the one who is not as black, so we have a thing now called browning. When Rastafari presented itself, these concepts never really exist to I and I about no brown people. That never exists, but we could see the mulattoes, we could see the mixed race people. And the people of mixed race were usually used by those who control the plantation, to be the buffer between them and the slaves. And would give them some little privileges, like them can get the better leftover clothes. And them get the little things before them reach into the field. So we develop these distinctions amongst ourselves, be them what we're calling shades. So people know light skin and dark skin and brown and light brown and half white and porcelain. All of this kind of rubbish. Why I say rubbish? Because when you get on the plane and you drop into the Merrimack, all of that shit, all of that thing wash away. Colorism doesn't exist in the North American scenario. You're black or you're not black. So here we're living in a hypocrisy, which is what the artist, I think, was saying in our song. We're hypocritical. Not just about coloration, but about our identity as black people. We're hypocritical when we talk about our religious identity. Because you whisper to your brother and your sister of a different faith, and when you turn your back, you cuss them under your breath because they're not in your faith, so they have it wrong. So we're upon a self-destructive part. And when Rastafari emerged in the 1930s to identify blackness and Africa as an identity, the fight has not stopped yet. And you have the illiterate telling you that them don't born in Africa, so them not Africans. But them telling you that the Chinaman is a Chinaman, but they tell you that he wasn't born in China. So it's a dissonance in the brain. You can tell me why the next man is a Chinaman who wasn't born there, but you can't tell me about you because you wasn't born there. It's a high level of illiteracy, that. And it's all about denial. In denial of blackness, because blackness is projected as evil and dirty. You have a brother named Noah Webster, you know. Noah Webster, them say compile the dictionary, you know, of American language, you know. This is just one man, you know. And him put on the dictionary, say black equal that, equal that, equal that, you know. And white equal that, you know. Him put that down. But it's a reflection of the culture in which he as a dominant figure represent. So if when I write my dictionary and I go and put a definition for black, you could never say the same thing as Noah Webster. Impossible. Because black is beautiful. Black is strength. Black is total energy. Yeah, black is the source of all light. So my dictionary couldn't look like Webster's own. And when you see white, I'm going to show you a symbol of death. And I give you an example of the fire and the ashes and the snow in the winter. So Rastaman come challenge that order. Challenge the order of language. Challenge the order of the whole appearance of self. And in the tradition of the Nazarite now, the Rastaman became alienated even greater because now it's a dirty-head Rasta. Yeah, and songs are created to denigrate the Rastaman. But the Jesus image is also a man who never come for him here. So all them say Jesus have 40 leg. Jesus have 40 leg, name it? It's not impossible. Because you tell me, so the man never come in here. So you're assuming that when a man don't claim him coming here, he's unhygienic. It's a mentality. It's a mentality. So the black consciousness of Rastafari, through the works of a man like Leonard P. Howell in the 30s, was advanced in the 50s, I would say, by a man like Claudius Henry. And we don't hear much about Claudius Henry or what he does, but I'm going to give you a little insight. And Claudius Henry operated on 1958, 59, 1960. And in 1960, there was a report in the Star. Yeah, and it said 4 British soldiers of the Royal Hampshire Regiment. That time it was at Upper Camp. These 4 soldiers were ambushed and shot, 2 fatally, in bushes near an abandoned Rastafarian camp in the rugged and treacherous terrain of Sligoville, St. Catherine. And it continues, an unspecified amount of arms and ammunition, including a submachine gun, was retrieved from the alleged mercenaries who had been hiding in the area, regarded as the most rugged and mountainous pathways in St. Catherine. 4 men, Reynold Henry, who was the son of the Reverend Claudius Henry. Claudius Henry was the head of the African Reformed Church. The next man was Al Thomas, William Jeter, and Howard Rollins. These men came from the United States, and they were former United States Marines. And they were taken into custody by the military and police unit from Orange Grove, 2 miles out of Sligoville. Claudius Henry was referred to as the repairer of the breach. And he was the leader of a Rastafarian church. And he had a wife whose name was Edna. And she was just as potent as her husband. So the West Indian Regiment, with supporting officers from the British Army, who were still in Jamaica, along with the constabulary force, making a total of 400 military personnel and 100 policemen. They were part of what was described at the time as an all-out counter-attack on the enemies of the state. It's we black people, Rastafari, them are called so now, you know. 400 military personnel and 100 policemen put together to launch an all-out counter-attack on, in quote, the enemies of the state. And along with others, they took into custody Elridge Morgan, a Jamaican by birth, and another American national named David Ambrister. So this was the first felony treason case recorded in Jamaica at the time. And this law that them pull upon, draw down upon the brethren, is a law that came into effect in 1869. So they had to go into them books, draw a law, and apply the law upon Claudius Henry. And the jury now, in no time, them declare Claudius Henry and his headquarters. Them condemn them, and hanging was the punishment meted out. So when you say Rastafari treading earth today, enough people jump on the Rastafari bandwagon and I call themselves Ras. And I talk about this here, this, and them not eating this anymore, and they don't understand the struggle and the oppression that Rastafari feel in Jamaica. And the fact that Rastafari now is being exploited in areas where Rastafari was being humiliated and abused. That we have to begin to have our own pantheon of heroes. Claudius Henry, Archibald Dunkley, Leonard P. Howell. We have to build our own museum to demonstrate the heroes in the Rastafari trading. And the oppression didn't finish with Claudius Henry, because in a few years, the government would launch another attack against Rastas in Montego Bay. This time it would be a massacre called the Coral Gardens Massacre. And a lot of the survivors of that massacre are still around. Those are living heroes and sheroes. And this government that is part of that government is willing to hand out some chicken feed, some small change, calling it reparations. How do you repair the damage to Rastafari from the 30s into the 2000s? You have to give us a whole heap of land, enough infrastructural support that we can develop our own hemp factories, space where we can build our own education systems and libraries. Yeah, man, you have to repair the damage. Claudius Henry, Rastafari hero, Leonard P. Howell. The journey goes on. Metamorphosis.
Speaking of love. hold me warm against your heart. I feel the words, the tender trembling moments start. My life is yours, and now because you came into my world with love, so softly love, wine-colored days, warmed by the sun, deep velvet nights.
The Reverend Mr. Claudius Henry, his wife Edna, and 14 others were taken before the court, having been charged with 3 counts of treason and felony. There was a long, drawn-out trial that followed months after, and his son Renald Henry and others, they too were charged with several counts of murder. They were tried, convicted, sentenced to death, and hanged on the gallows of the St. Catherine district. Them handle were harsh, them deal were coarse. And nothing has changed as it relates to Rastafari, and not much has changed as it relates to recognizing blackness as an important part of our identity. During the court case, the area around the Supreme Court was cordoned off. Armed soldiers and police personnel were everywhere. Visitors to the courts, witnesses, and all were thoroughly searched. At the end of a 19-day trial, the jury retired for 68 minutes and returned with a unanimous verdict of guilty against a 57-year-old Reverend Claudius Henry, his wife, and 12 of his followers on all 3 counts of the indictment. Henry was given a sentence of 10 years imprisonment at hard labor on each count. The sentences to run concurrently. And this is what the justice said to him. His name was Justice Duffus. He said, "It is clear and clear beyond any doubt that the persons charged attempted to influence the government of this country, properly constituted by highly unlawful means. It also clear and clear beyond any doubt, also in my mind, that the chief instigator and promoter is you, Claudius Henry, a man who called himself an appointed prophet of God, a man who threw scorn on all other religions in Jamaica." So then the judge described the sentence as moderate and merciful. We need to know what Rastafari has been through, what Rastafari is going through. As for his son, Renald Henry, and his brethren, there was a 7-day manhunt by the military and police, and it ended in their capture at Orange Grove in St. Catherine. Renald Henry and the other 3 American nationals, they had fallen asleep on the floor in a room, and the soldier them find him, and charged for 3 counts of murder were laid against Henry. And the security forces said that them find some bodies, dead bodies, near the Rastafarian camp in Red Hills. So the journey and the struggle. Renald Henry, Donald Harper, and Titus Darmons were additionally charged with being in possession of a firearm without a license. The journey of Rastafari is not one that is frivolous and grounded just in music and entertainment. It's about resistance. And what the resistance is against white oppression, white domination. And within that domination is culture. And within the culture of domination is images. And when the images are glorified and the images look like the oppressor, you are really internalizing the oppressor. He's becoming a part of your makeup. That means that you're always warring with your own self. You're always denigrating yourself. You're always putting down yourself. And if you keep doing that, you will put down others around you. You will never uplift and elevate anybody around you if you always putting yourself down. So it's a whole psychology we have to transform and liberate yourselves. Rastafari has come to point not to any absolute truth, but to a reality that you cannot escape yourself. And the self is grounded in your physical being, and your physical being has a physiological makeup, and that puts you into a racial category. And so whether you want to acknowledge it or not, those in the world who know, know. Those who don't know, don't know. And those who know and pretend as if them don't know, these are the hypocrites. And it's them the song calling out. We were talking about Spice and our coloration is a song that is calling out the hypocrites.
It's not what you expect me to say, but I'ma go ahead and say it anyway. 'Cause I was told I would reach further if the color of my skin was lighter, and I was made to feel inferior. 'Cause society said brown girls prettier. Me love the way me look, me love me pretty black skin. Respect you to me strong melanin. Proud of me color, love the skin that I'm in. Born racism, demolish colorism. But the things when me I go say, you might not even love me back. I get hate from my own race, yes, that's a fact. 'Cause the same black people, them say I'm too black. And if you bleach out your skin, them same one come a chat. Well, since you say that I'm too black for you, I please you, do I look how you want me to? Now I'm gonna see if you're gonna say I'm too brown for you. Or do I look pretty to you? Black people, hypocrisy. Leave the girls them with low self-esteem. Who no go on like say you are fi brown, fi pretty. Fuck the whole of them dirty iniquity. This a black people hypocrisy. Leave the girls them with low self-esteem. I'm black and beautiful, I know I'm pretty. Fuck the whole of them dirty iniquity. Them say me black till me shine, till me look dirty. And it's the only line in life that will ever hurt me, because it never come from a Caucasian, trust me. This a black colorism, big hypocrisy. So if I wake up tomorrow look like a browning, oh, automatically mood carry the swing. No.
Pure beauty, where blessing awaits for us all. And if your heart is clean, I know you will redeem in the land of the black, gold, and green. It is a land that is holy, the holiest land you'll ever see. And if we unite as one, I know we can understand about the land of the black, gold, and green.
Yeah, this land of the black, gold, and green is a serious spot in the Antilles, you know. Yeah, the people who are residents here need to recalibrate them whole consciousness towards where we live. We are living in no Caribbean. There's no such thing as a Caribbean Sea. There is an Atlantic Ocean, which we are all residents of a vast ocean. We are Atlanteans within our identity. This Caribbean thing is a European construction, like a political region, like how them create the Middle East. There's no such place called Middle East in the real world of geography. Likewise, there's no Caribbean. I went to Barbados and I hear say somewhere in the Barbados I could find one side of the Atlantic Ocean, and I traveled to the Atlantic Ocean side, and then them tell me say you go on the other side the Caribbean Sea starts. So I ask them, show me where the point divide, show me the separation between the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean, and people them laugh after me. Because it's all in the mind, it's all imaginary. There are no real distinctions that separate the Caribbean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean. It's a political configuration. So at the level of identity, we are Antillians. We're living in the Greater Antilles. And when you begin to examine history through linguistics, the people of the Antilles have a connection to the continent of Atlantis. And it opens another 25, 30, 40,000 years of history that has been hidden from us. So the concept of being colored is another great distraction from our real identity. So this colorism thing now, it ruled Jamaica. It ruled this idea of browning, and if you're lighter the skin, you're nearer to white, and if you're white, you're all right. And if you're black, you get back, and you're brown, you can stick around. And if you're yellow, you're mellow. All of these things rivet into the consciousness, subconsciously. So the colorism is a great divide in Jamaica. But as I said before, it's non-functional when you leave the country. So it's something that's relative to the island, and it's being supported by those who govern and rule it. And you have some people who call themselves brown, and them feel glorified people, make space for them. A brown and a black go in a room, everybody look upon the brown, and the black have to be making them know that they are there too. Sickness, you know, is an illness. But the illness is revealed when they leave the country and go anywhere else and think that they have a privilege because they are not as dark as them brethren. Peter Touch to try show the people them saying, you know, no matter your complexion, as long as you're black, you're an African, you know. Says all the way Rasta try show the people them say, don't be distracted by these conversations of being light and dark. The other great distraction in Jamaica now, beside colorism, is the tribalism. And though the colorism don't necessarily promote violence, the tribalism is the root of enough of the violence in Jamaica. The tribalism. And tribalism is promoted by those who control the two tribes. And Rastafari in the 1930s realized that they will never be a part of the tribal system. So when the party system come together in the 40s, Rastafari blood out the two of them. Because we realized it's just one family splitting up the African population into two groups. One family. And them say, we too shall hold them. So Rastaman see them thing from the 30s. How will see them thing there? And recognize what would happen. And 1950s and Rastafari movement coming through the 50s realized, say, same thing, Claudius Henry, all them money, see the division created along the lines of race amongst black people. And the stronger force, which is the police and the army and the state, they are all in favor of the British rule. When the British rule, it means the Queen is in charge, and when the Queen is in charge, it's white domination and white culture and knife and fork run the place. You don't eat with a spoon anymore, and you can't eat with your hand, because that's not British. So we subject ourselves to tribalism now, when the families who were of the wealthy plantation group set up these two political tribes. Dress up one in orange and one in green. And have the black population now running up and down behind these people, thinking that they can get a way of upgrading them standard of living. It has never happened from the 60s. It don't happen yet. But the people running behind them the same way they're running behind the pastors. So the country, they're on a kind of rock and roll rhythm. There's no stability because the people are not stable in their consciousness. One week the people are following a certain fashion, and the following week is something else. But at the foundation, colorism is a driving force. And whether you're black or not in Jamaica, you're going to realize now, say, there is no such thing as half-black. And there is no such thing as half-white. Because identity is grounded in your physiological makeup. You see, if you lack melanin in the eyes, or melanin in the hair, or in the skin, and you're lacking pigmentation, and you're having more and more locks, the more locks you have is the less you can see yourself as being an African. Yeah, the more you're lacking is the more you're looking non-African. Because the African is a complete being. All forces, everything is within. So we have to embrace that. And I don't want to love it. I am saying let us begin to care for ourselves. Let's begin to show respect for ourselves. Care and respect. The love concept, I'm telling the item, is a white man invention that has no meaning. Because if people can hurt you through love, how can we be pursuing love? If wars are fought because of love, and man do man things because of love and violence through love, we don't need love. We don't need love. This one love, let's get together, it's another illusion. What we really need is care. Yeah, care. And when you care, it's not loving. It's more fundamental to care. And you don't flip-flop and care tomorrow morning and care the following morning. Care is something that you begin to engender in yourself as an activity. The love thing comes and goes. So when black people begin to care for themselves and show care for each other, respect will follow automatic. And all now we love to talk about no love. So this European concept of I love you, and baby, I love you, and we shall ride off into the sunset, and we shall live and love forever. All of those things coming out of Hollywood. They coming out of the land of doing books and the little text them, what the European them give us to give us their version of what they call romance. Africans don't need to have any ants from Rome. We don't need to be romantic. We are Africans. Let us be Africantic. Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis continuing. This section now we go into Alkebulan. We go into our story, the way the perspective allows I and I to see it. And I keep mentioning to ones and ones who are listening that resurrection of self is a critical mission that each person should be on. And one of the ways you resurrect yourself is to find a source where you know it holds the stories and the literature and the knowledge of our people. So the place that we usually use as a reference point is Egypt, ancient Egypt. And more specifically, I might make reference to the Nile Valley. Culture. If we are lost and we are culturally confused because of white culture and the dominance of the Chinese culture and the Indian culture, our solution is not just what you call black culture, because that is too global. The culture that we need to zero in on is in the Nile Valley culture. Yeah, man, use up your technology and punch in Nile Valley and begin to read about who we really are before we were captured and given this different brain to function with. So the Nile River, something that is need to be known about the Nile River. It is supposed to be the longest river in the world, the Nile. And the Nile rise in the regions, it begins in Central Africa. Now, it flows north through Tanzania, Lake Victoria, Uganda, and southern Sudan. Now, I want to say it again, you know. It flows northwards, to the north. Now, why I keep saying this, you know? As far as how we have been programmed to understand direction and understand science and gravity, there is no river that can flow upstream. There is no river that can flow up a hill. All right? Now, on that basis, why do we find it? And okay, let's put it this way. If a river can flow up a hill, it means the river have to flow down the hill. But they tell us that north is up. In other words, you go up north and you go down south. But the Nile flows from south to north. So how are we able to rationalize with that now? If north is up, because that them tell me in geography and all teachings in the school system, them say when you're going north, you're going up. You're going up north. And you're going down south. But then there's a river in Africa, and the longest river in the world, so you can't hide it. It flows from south to north, which means it flow from down up. Something is not so kosher about our understanding of up and down. But I just want to make a suggestion that even within the concept of up north, there is a racist inbuilt ideology. And why down south is a place where the people of melanin live. In other words, down south is towards the sun. I would think that the sun, we'd say we're going towards the sun, we're going up. But instead, we go down south. And when you go down, you feel as though you're achieving less than when you're going up. So when you go into the north, where the white people live and in their societies exist, there's no way you should be going down to the north. You should be going up. You should be going up to the north because you're supposed to be going to a better place. So there's a psychology and it's up and down, north, south, because there's no up on the north. North cannot be up. It's drawn on a map. And we get the impression that you're going up. But check it out. I man recognize that I rather view my movements as going to the sun as moving up. So I man go up to the south. And so when I went into the ice box, deep down into the north, it make more sense for Iman to go down into the north, and it's a down movement, away from the sun into the ice box. But now we come upon some characters now in Egypt itself. And the main character that we are exposed to through Western literature is Moses. And I mentioned earlier about a movement of people coming out of Venezuela, going through Mexico, trying to get to the United States. And the media described them not as asylum seekers, not as refugees, but as a caravan. And I don't want to apply the same term down to Moses and what him took on the people who follow him out of Egypt. Was it a caravan? Was it just like what's happening now, 2,000-3,000 people? And we are here convinced now, says a whole generations of people leave, and we are the descendants of those Moses remnants. It was a caravan. Yeah, it was a real caravan coming out of Egypt. It was no exodus of no tens of thousands of people. But because we don't write our own story, we have to read the story that is given to us. And it's unfortunate that we accept it as a reality. So I'm challenging those now who hold on to the Exodus as some historical reality to tell me how many people ran out of Egypt with Moses? How many? 50? 100? 200 people? And how can those people now represent the descendants of the African people in this Western world, calling themselves Hebrews and Israelis and Hebrew Israelites? All of them giving themselves an identity based upon the few people themselves live with Moses. And what they have rejected is the full blackness of ancient Egypt, of the pharaohs, of the gods and the goddesses, of our science and technology. We've abandoned all of that to follow now behind a man named Moses and his constructed laws. The Exodus, it's an illusion.
Business operators, local and overseas. This announcement is for you.
Styles FM is an internationally known radio network with worldwide listeners in over 120 countries.
From our studio in Port Antonio, Jamaica, to the ears of the people in your community, our listeners can be your new customers.
Styles FM is an economical, efficient, and effective advertising option for your business.
No matter the size of your business, there's always growth potential. Styles FM provides the customer reach needed to realize that upward movement.
So procrastinate no more. Advertising is a must.
For more details on how to advertise with Styles FM, visit www.stylesfm.com or email info@stylesfm.com or call us on 876-518-2399.
Styles FM, the world listens.
This feeling is taking over me. I'm so excited.
Feel the euphoria.
Tuesdays from 5 to 9 p.m. with the Master Mixer Musical Maestro Digital Team.
Giving a total satisfaction with melodies and memories by the score. With the widest selection of genres and hits. So you don't know that program you turn up, you know. So you know Patek's a full dance, the one you slap with.
Digital and we are party. Yeah, we flawless. Euphoria the program. Every Tuesday.
5 to 9. Every Tuesday.
With the Musical Maestro Digital Team.
For a full range of modern eye care services, visit Ophthalmic Suites. We offer the latest laser technology in glaucoma care, LASIK vision correction, retinal and cataract surgery using premium implant technology, and so much more. From A to Z in eye health and vision care. Visit us at 34 Lady Musgrave Road. Telephone 630-0958 or 759-6449. Ophthalmic Suites, Jamaica's eye care technology center.
Also located at 14 Miramar Drive, Morant Bay, St. Thomas, 1 Bramonti Avenue, May Pen, 43 Fletchers Avenue, LYNCHED, and 65 Main Street, St. Anne's Bay. For complete auto repairs and services, come to Akon Auto Technology, located at 33 Bumble Crescent, Port Antonio, Jamaica. We offer specialist services in wheel alignment and wheel balancing, brake drum and disc rotary servicing, state-of-the-art ultrasonic cleaning and testing of your fuel injectors. We also stock an assorted range of auto service parts, tires, and motorcraft batteries. If we don't have it, we will source it for you. Call us at 876-715-5205 or email akonautotech16@gmail.com. Akon Auto Technology, beyond the typical auto mechanic shop.
Are you sick of living an average life and tired of just getting by?
Do you want to take your life to the next level? Learn the secrets of the super successful. Listen to Power in a Half Hour with Coach Mark this and every Wednesday night on Styles FM from 9 to 10 p.m. Learn the habits of the super successful and how to make these habits work for you. Learn to turn your dreams and desires into reality.
You can win in the game of life.
Let Coach Mark show you how. Every Wednesday night on Styles FM from 9 to 10 p.m.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Continuing about a message here from Mark in California. He say he has been looking at the migration of Africans into Europe for some time, and the Europeans took and are still taking resources out of Africa. Now, from these resources, Europe has advanced itself, while Africa has struggled to catch up with its marionette leaders. So he continues to say now, this African migration to Europe, which is happening mainly through North America, could simply be Africans going to get what was taken from them. He calling that now osmotic migration. The universe exists in equilibrium, therefore equity of wealth will also have to follow the same rule. That is Mark in California. All right, so we're really making out some references to the earlier reasoning about migration and why black people have to be moving to, and primarily to the white industrialized societies, because they are now the beneficiaries of the hundreds of years of raping African resources. They have ripped off Africa and have built themselves up. Now Africa as societies now are like shell-shocked. And in their withdrawal, they made sure that the infrastructure would never be in place. So when them leave, it's basically a collapse of the economy. And then they turn around and say, see, you can't rule yourself. And so you have to send for them now to come back and help. And when they come now, they are more brutal in their terms of reference and borrowing and so forth. So we have to get a grip of this idea of migration and even have a greater respect for when certain people come amongst us. We don't treat them as aliens. Realize that they are part of the struggle of people moving through the earth, seeking better. Because sometimes where they are, those who are in governance are only interested in their own wealth and their own pockets. So the Exodus is a chapter in the Bible which carries a whole world picture, different now from the Genesis. Because Genesis is supposed to be all about the beginning and destruction and starting again, and you don't hear about no real people happening in no real land. But this one now, book of Exodus now, it highlights Africa and highlights Egypt and highlights Ethiopia. So it's the first time the story now we really connect to a landmass. And so in our introduction now to this Egyptian state of affairs, we are showing a story wherein the leadership of Egypt is in opposition to the one God. But the one God is a concept. The one God idea was born in Egypt itself. It wasn't born in the head of Moses. Moses was a youth, them say, grew up in the Pharaoh's palace and had access to universities and had 40 years of formal education. So anybody studied for 40 years in a place like Egypt will know nearly everything, inclusive of magic and psychology and philosophy, all that is needed. But it is the one God concept I want to look at and the implications of what that one God has done to black people and family life. Because the one God concept that Moses has embraced and claimed that he has a special connection now to the one God is that the black people, now African people, in embracing this concept of one God, also at a subliminal level embraces a masculine entity. Yes, this one God of Moses now has been masculinized. As much as people talk about God is a spirit, them have created a masculine spirit. And why I say that is because in every occasion people talk about the Lord God, it's always him. It is always him. Yet him is supposed to be a spirit. And a spirit doesn't have any gender. So I want to talk to the item about gender and about masculine and feminine, which is gender, and about singular and plural. I'm going to see if we can sort out a little issue right here now with what Moses has brought to us, or what King James tell us Moses say. So they said that there is this one God. And this God has given Moses commandments. And Moses wrote them down on tablets. And the commandments are 10. And around these 10 commandments now, all of our lives must be organized. But the commandments is not the issue. Especially the ones that deal with basic things like life and property. It is the first commandment that is problematic. Because the first commandment says, according to what Moses said, God tell him say, that tell the people that thou shalt have no other God but me. So right away, the Moses God is a singular entity and is a masculine entity. And because of that construction, the angels of that God are all masculine. And the kingdom of that God is all masculine. So, where is the role of the female? Where is the feminine principle now in the God of Moses? It looks like that is where she gets lived out. Because it's always a him. And the him suggests that it's a masculine, male, white him. The confusion goes even further. Because the book that they give us to read, to learn about these things, tells us that in the beginning, God created. And God is a singular entity. Masculine and singular. And before we get out of Genesis chapter 1, God becomes us. Let us make man. So here we see a plural concept of God. So there's a masculine, male concept. He that said, let us make the sun and the moon. And then later on we hear that there's a plural concept called God that say, let us make in our image and our likeness. Now, all I'm doing is looking at the language, an alien language called English, realizing it has laws. It has laws that define whether things are singular or plural. It has laws that define whether things are masculine or feminine. And the God that they introduce us to about Moses is masculine, is white, in the very first line. But by the time you read Genesis 1:26, the God becomes us. So me and a virgin have a long reason last week in the supermarket about us. And him say us means more than one, them agree. And him saying us mean two. I said, when us could have mean three, because the Christians say us mean three. Some say, when you say to who and who, him say, well, it was God and himself. The Christians say it was God and his son and a spirit. So within the two ideas of us, there is still no female. So the Christians try to tell you that the us is the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And my brethren tell us that us is really the Creator and himself. All I am saying to the ones and ones listening now, how can we return the female to the deity if the deity is a masculine deity? It means we have to begin to revolt against that God of Moses. Because that God of Moses is strictly sexist. And that God of Moses is also racist. Because we don't hear anything about the Chinese. We don't hear anything about the Indians. And they are a vast part of the world population. How is it that they are left out of the creation story? So when we want to find ourselves, we look into ancient Egypt and look at the stories that the Africans recorded in ancient Egypt. And you find that there's a conflict between those stories and the stories that they say Moses wrote. The Africans have no record of any plagues in Egypt and no firstborn being killed and all of these type of nonsense. So we have to sort ourselves out. And if we want to resurrect ourselves as a people, we have to resurrect the feminine principle. And the feminine principle does not exist in the God of Moses. But if you go beyond that into where Moses come from, we find the gods of the ancient Egyptians, which are masculine and feminine. This is the reality, because those are the principles that govern life. It governs animal life, plant life, fish, trees, everything. The male and the female principle. And so if we step aside from the God of Moses, because the God of Moses also promotes a concept wherein if you commit blasphemy, you are in a position where you cannot be forgiven. And yet, the Irish people have removed blasphemy from the constitution of their country. They now are free from that law. Why can't the Africans free themselves in likewise? Metamorphosis.
Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know?
I want to hear up Bunny, Port Morant. Yes, and all the forces in St. Thomas. Bunny said want to acknowledge Barry. And Barry is a part of the struggle and the sacrifices that took place in the Coral Gardens massacre. Yeah, we have to heal up our soldiers, because Roman society will never elevate the Rastafarian soldiers and the black liberators. They will never help us to transform them into deities that we can begin to worship our own kind. It's I and I have to do that. So we'll heal up all of the Rastafarian heroes and sheroes. The women them who hide the Rasta man them in a Montego Bay when the police come. One woman had to hide all her money in her mattress. Yeah, when the brutality come. Because the instructions were given from the government, to kill our Rasta on sight. You think that South Africa were there when they shoot down black people right here on Jamaica Island. And the same government forces continue to rule this plantation. And Rasta man continue to feel the brunt. So we get so much brutalization for ganja. And now when it comes to the manufacturing of it, Rastaman being left out because Rastaman don't have the funds and the resources to build those labs and to find a specific type of thing that the plant need, because they're not taking every ganja plant. No, they're not taking every ganja plant. So little by little we're going to come in like how them deal with banana and other grown products. We just simply do the farming and ship it off. And then we take our own money now, go buy it as a finished product. And I say Rasta, if we rise up and jump into the hemp revolution and leave them alone, make them go and smoke, make them alone go on with the medicine thing. Let them alone pursue that and let us go into industry. Yeah, industry, because we need money. And Bob Marley show you what the power of money can do. Rasta not afraid of money. The Christians, them afraid of money, but them all love it. More conflict. Metamorphosis.
One machiki wonjo, kidapa wonjo. One machiki wonjo, kidapa wonjo. One machiki wonjo, kidapa wonjo. Daphne rocket you me tame da ingama. Daphne rocket you me tame da ingara. Daphne rocket you me tame da ingama. Daphne rocket you me tame da ingara. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud, you got to hold on to it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud, you got to hold on to it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud.
It glitters and shines like a beautiful stream. Hey, hey, it's here in this world and it's reigning supreme. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Knowledge and wisdom will lead us to freedom. Hey, hey, let us seek first the heavenly kingdom. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Sodom and Gomorrah, we don't wanna see. Mama world empire, we don't wanna see the world turn into a cemetery. Don't wanna see the world turn into a cemetery. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting.
Yeah, the war is on, the fighting is on, the world is in a state of confusion and disorientation and struggle, and individuals are fighting for their own survival. At the level of the finances, not enough money, thing just not enough, and the needs keep, the needs have to be met, and some people, the wants are increasing and the money decreasing. So there are a whole heap of tensions. So there's a lot of internal examination taking place in individual people's lives. Checking out them own self. Why is it them not achieving? What is holding them back? What is it they're not doing? Is it part of their destiny to be failures? And what does the future hold? A lot of people are concerned and perplexed. And so because of this state of affairs and level of violence, people turn into religion. People are turning to religion now as an avenue that will give them the answers to what they need. They turn into the politics, obviously showing them that those who are in politics are all about power. And power has no respect for anything else. And they tell you about power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we see that there's a power struggle in the earth, but it's not a new struggle, because they tell us even in the world of the religion that the whole world before it was made, there was a struggle in the kingdom of heaven. So war and struggle then should not be something that is seemed to be so unusual in the earth if it was here before the earth was created in some kingdom of heaven. So how do we deal with war then? How do we deal with ourselves in an environment where war is maybe normal? And we are searching for peace. Lots of us are searching for peace. And it looks like war more prevalent than peace. Maybe war is a natural state and we must become good at war. And when you become good at war, maybe you have a longer reign of peace. So the example I can draw now is even Kim Jong-un was being threatened for months with being wiped off of the planet of the earth. And he must back up himself with force. And the argument done. And there's no more discussion anymore about war between Korea and the United States. Because the Koreans have just shown that they too have power, and power only respects power. So if you want to know why we are battling around and baffling around as a people, because we lack power. And the first level of power you have to achieve is power over your own self, over your own thoughts. And this is where religion now comes in to fight against people thinking for themselves. So the ideology that we get through religion, particularly Muslim and Christian religion, those are the two ones that tie up black people's brain. Because we are in the Western world and in the Eastern language zone, we get the King James. So this book now becomes what we call our news. But I want to tell you that this news is really the beginning of fake news. The Old Testament is fake news. And I want to deal with the New Testament, which is even more fake news. And I want to talk about the writers, the man who write that testament, because it's the New Testament ideology now that seems to be the moving force in the consciousness of people who call themselves Negroes and Christians. They have sort of abandoned the principles of the Old Testament and everybody following the New Testament because this now supposed to be the testament of the Jesus. And the Jesus come forward now as another Moses to save the people the way the Moses and his caravan should have saved the people out of Egypt. This testament that we read now, called the New Testament, is a recent set of writings. It's been here within the last 2,000 years. And we hear that there are 4 main writers. And like Donald Trump make we know say there is fake news, I begin to investigate who are the writers of these first 4 books. Everybody run to them all the while. They're called Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And when I start check them man personally now, because these are the 4 men who give us a story that we encounter in my life. I want to know about them. We want to know if the news is fake or whether it's a real news them right. And when you begin to examine who the man is, they become more mysterious. We just hear so one is that some of them was tax collectors, and at the same time, they never work for the government. So I don't know what I'm collecting tax and not working for the government unless they were extortionists. Unless they were some bad man. And we're not surprised to know say the man who used to walk up and down with the Jesus was pure bad man. Because these are a man who was in rebellion and resisting the order of the state. They were challenging the Roman Empire. So that's why when they start talking about him being a king, the Roman Empire said, no, my empire can't have more than one king. I am the king of the Roman Empire. Who are you? So we get some stories now from these 4 men. And I'm telling you now, it's the first time I'm looking closely at all Macho. I don't know him surname, you know. Him just named Macho. That look like him writing name, a pen name. And his Macho now sit down in the desert and watch 3 camels go through with some man on it. And them 3 men on the camel watch a star. And them follow the star and Macho in the desert and watch the 3 men them follow the star. And the 3 men them follow the star till them reach a manger. And Macho walk with them. No, I am saying this is not a practical situation. This is a metaphorical creation story. Because there is no evidence of the writers. It's like asking where was the man who wrote the story of Jonah in the belly of the whale. Who else but Jonah was in there, and Jonah never wrote the story himself. So this New Testament is what has controlled the meditation of many, many black people in the 21st century. And any issues happening in the world, them call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And tell you what them say. So it's always wars and rumors of war. And all this was predicted a long time. And it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And we get locked up into these 4 writers. And we don't find the time to question the nature of what these men have said. Were these real men? Or is it the essence of fake news? So, our liberation in this Heroes Month, as it comes to a close, is also denounce some of the characters who have been given to us as heroes. We should never continue to embrace Moses as a hero of black people. Because it's through the Moses experience, black people get disconnected from Africa and Egypt through this illusionary Red Sea crossing. Till now we're fighting that we are no Hebrews. We are fighting to defend ourselves as Israelites and Hebrews. And calling the Jesus Yeshua and claiming him to be black and rather than white. And we're so involved in the mythology that we have not focusing on our Africanness and our blackness. So the long and short of it is, the New Testament is false news. Fake writers, tax collectors who are extortionists. And it is finished up with a man who them say is psychotic. Another John who is in exile. And it's him no right and have us believe in some future. It is the writing of John the Divine, John the Insane, isolated on an island called Patmos. And it's him now directing the meditation of millions of black people into a future that is not grounded on the planet Earth. Heroes Month is over. Watch it now, because they're taking us now into the Christmas. And the Christmas means the Christ thing again. Another Savior commit. And our money goes away to the church again. And the cycle goes around and around. And next October we have Heroes Month again. And the cycle goes on and on. This cannot continue. But we find a way to arrest this rhythm. And the arrest will come when we begin to think out of our own brain. Think out of our own consciousness. Think out of our own blackness. And be conscious of our wish. Metamorphosis.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Eternity is a temptation of time. To dance is to be master of time. His pleasure is to control mind. Universal remedy, cure for you and cure for me. Universal remedy, cure for you and cure for me. Dr. Street is the one you get to meet. Whoa, Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Oh yeah, yeah, Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Whoa, Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Oh yeah, yeah. Memory was a treacherous thing. Souvenirs and golden rings. His life is an exhibition to death. With all those arrows and knives and hatchets, machetes hanging there on the wall. Talking gongs and instruments used for divination. Silent statue chiseling strokes of charity. Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Whoa, Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Oh yeah, yeah. Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Whoa, Dr. Street is the one you got to meet. Whoa, time is settled down by ruins. Rusty rat and river trout. His world is full of fetish forest. Dusty museum of life. Shadows of jawbone sticking to a lazy silver spoon. Hazy brown eyes echoing with laughter words. Dr. Street is the one you got to meet.
We're reflecting on our own story, our own story. They call it a mystery. My story is a mystery, but his story is our story. How can that be? His story must be history. No, there's a philosophy and ideology that suggests that what goes around comes around. You know that, Cass? You know that? You hear that? And so what goes around comes around. And everybody kind of accept that without even saying much about it, because they have evidence. Them say, see it? What happened today, tomorrow, what happened to you, and what goes around comes around. All right. Well, I want us to open up that circle, because what goes around comes around suggests that things are circular, like a record, you know. So what goes around comes back around, and there's a matter of time before the same thing that happened, same part that pass you will pass you again later on. All right. I am saying to the item now, there is a serious problem with that when we look at that from a collective perspective. What goes around comes around, because there are some assumptions being made. The first one, of course, is that everything is a circle. And if you extend that reasoning to everything being a circle, you might also end up saying that life itself is a circle. Because that's the only way we get the concept of what goes around comes around in life, if we view life as a circle. That perception of life is problematic because as black people, we sit on one spot, and when things happen to us and we must respond to whatever happened to us, we wait. And we sometimes tend to pray, because whatever it is that happened to us, it will happen again, it will go around, it will come back to the person who did it. And I'm saying it's a very serious, false sense of security to sit into. Because I want to say to them know that life as we know it is not a circle. I want to put up forward that life is more a cycle. And there is a difference between a cycle and a circle. If you hold on to the idea that life is a circle, then when it comes to things like justice and vengeance and revenge, you will not really move towards it actively, because the philosophy tells you that don't worry, because what goes around come back around. Someone violate you and violate your family, and you don't seek to have vengeance taken out on that person. Them tell you to leave him. Leave him alone. Because what? Time going to take care of him. And to take care of him now and time now is where the God concept come in. Because it's God going to take care of him, you know, in his own time. Not in your time. And what goes around comes around. So we get tied up in that philosophy. And we become victims of other people's barbarity, and we don't respond. So when them rush me into the church and kill we don't respond, because no worry man, what goes around come back, so somebody going to go into them church and kill them too. And it don't have to happen in your lifetime. It can happen in the next lifetime. And we go on and on and on. I am saying to the item, life is not a circle. Life is a cycle. And what happened in the cycle one time don't must happen again. Something different can happen in the cycle. So, when we talk about justice now and revenge and avenge crimes that are done to us, we have to come off of the circle and come out to this idea about this thing exists named karma. Yeah, we love to talk about everything will take care of itself in time, and leave them to time and leave them to God, because God not sleep. And we have a whole little phrase we use, and time passes, 10, 20, 40 years of oppression, 100 years. And we have said, don't worry man, revenge will come in the Lord's time. Leave our vengeance to the Lord. 2,000 years pass. We still can't get no vengeance. And when we go to the man who is a criminal actor and tell us to be patient and to let justice find its own route. Let justice serve itself. And the same white man, when he tell about justice, him go hunt the man. Him go head hunting. And when him kill the man, him say, yes, justice has been served. When them kill we don't go after him. We just wait and pray for the Lord to execute judgment on him in his whole time. It's a deception. This life is not a circle. Life is a cycle. And if you sit in a circle, yes, what goes around will come back. So you simply sit. It's in a cycle. A cycle have different highs and lows, ebb and flow. And if you don't put energy into it, you can't define the height and the depth of the flow. So we have to put our lives more in control of ourselves. We can counter the life as a circle rhythm. We can leave the karma thing alone and begin to seek justice for ourselves whenever we are around. So the New Testament encouraged the Christian Negro not to seek revenge. The Old Testament Mosaic law tells us if a man chop you, chop him back. Make him get the message. And that's how the law of the real world work. So I am watching to see now how will the world respond now to this brother now kill off 11 Jews in one synagogue. Will they all gather together and pray for him? Will they all have mercy on him because he knew not what he was doing? Or will they slit his throat under the powers of the law because he's now being anti-Semitic? When people anti-black, it don't matter, you know. When people anti-black and anti-African, you can have a shoot and kill way. But anti-Semitic, how dare you trample upon the Jews? And these Jews claim that now they are the same God's children. You imagine that? The Jews, the same God that them tell you must worship, that God that Moses give you, they are his children. Our black people argue, say, original Jews were black, and these Jews are artificial, and blah, blah, blah. Look here. All of those identities are irrelevant if you don't have no power. And it's power that counts. And black people, whether we hide behind Christianity or we hide behind Islam or we hide behind these religious identities, we don't have no power. We have no power. And the first foundation of power comes with self-identity. If you don't know yourself, it don't matter how much economic power you get or political power, you can't keep it because you lack that self-awareness, you lack that self-confidence, you lack that self-reliance. So, we'll go through the metamorphosis, and it's the end of the month for the heroes. What they're going to come with in November, I'm not sure, but I know that jingles are already being rung. People must begin to put the money together, and the children must look out for Santa. More illusion, more deception, more falseness. It is time to pause, reflect upon our blackness. Metamorphosis.
Don't let the reverend turn you fool, people. Don't let him use you as a tool. Don't let the reverend turn you fool. Don't let him use you as a tool. Foreign God is in Vatican and him send him here to rape the land and him come to we like a simpleton, holding the Bible in his hand. Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why don't you tell the people the truth, Reverend? Get rid of evil from the root. Tell them your God is in Vatican and him send you here to rape the land and him come to we like a simpleton, holding the Bible in your hand. gave I King James Version. King James was a white man. You built a dangerous weapon to kill I own black man. You sold the land God gave I and taught I to be covetous. What other wicked deeds have you got in mind? Tell me, what are you gonna do to stop these daily crimes? Bring back Maccabee version that God gave to black man. Give back King James version. It belongs to the white man. Black man, get up, stand up on your foot and give black God the glory. Black man, get up, stand up on your foot and give black God the glory. Yeah. You suffer I and you rabbi. You starve I, then you kill I. But what are you gonna do now that your sword have turned against you? Black man, get up, stand up on your foot and give black God the glory. Black man, get up, stand up on your foot and give black God the glory. Bring back Maccabee version that God gave the black man. Give back King James version that belongs to the white man. Black man, get up, stand up on your foot and give black God the glory. Black man, get up, stand up on your foot and give black God the glory.
Those of you who don't think your blackness is important and significant, you have to think again. And look at the things that happen to you in this life and how much of it is based upon the fact that you are a black person. Because there are a lot of persons who are literally ashamed, of being black. And there are others who are extremely proud for the blackness that they hold, So it's a matter of awareness. And in a place like Jamaica, that is grounded in a colonial structure, where there's inbuilt inequality. Inbuilt, in every colonial society, inequality exists because it is built in. And the basis of inequality is culture. There's a group who see themselves as culturally superior, and there's a group of people who they project as being culturally inferior. And in a culturally superior position, they have access to the wealth of the land or of the state. The critical part of the wealth is the land. And in a place like Jamaica, where they want to talk about Jamaica, land we love, the people can't love the land and don't have any access to it. You tend to love what you own. And if you don't own a piece of the rock, it's difficult to love it. So the concept of being black and being African comes out of the history of the island, where the small minority white racial group were in control of the vast amount of Africans on the plantation. And it was being sanctified by the church and blessed by the Lord God and sanctified every Sunday. We need to also realize that although the emancipation was signed and things were put in paper in the 1830s, just prior to the 1830s, 34, 35, just before that, the white man them realized that in order to maintain the economy of the plantation, they're gonna still need free labor or massive amount of laboring forces. And if the black people were in a resistant mode, white man did what was necessary. Him sent for Indians and him sent for Chinese people. And they came by shiploads. Government to government relationship. This is white man now buffering up the Jamaican plantation with two other racial groups. So the Chinese and the Indians were brought into the country to provide a buffer between the white people and the vast, massive black population. The Indians and the Chinese were given land, they were given resources, and they were blessed by the governments and welcomed by the Jamaican government. The black population here was dismembered. No family structure. Man just a drop seed as horse, and woman a breed like goat. And it's just one wild situation. And the European white man knew exactly what he was doing. He was putting a distance between himself and the black population. And so the Chinese and the Indians in Jamaica are part of the global racial hierarchy. Jamaica is a minor example of that global racial hierarchy, which 96% of the people in Jamaica are black African people. And another 4 or 5% are of the other racial groups. White people, Chinese people, Indian people, and some other mixed race people. They are no more than 10% in Jamaica. And the 90% are in denial of being black because they're trying to get into the 10%. It will not work like that. And the more you try to get into the 10%, the more the 10% becomes stronger because they realize that you don't have no self-worth. There's no self-worth, no self-esteem. So we have to work on those things at an individual level. How do we develop self-esteem? How do we get self-awareness? It comes with cultural knowledge. And cultural knowledge goes beyond religious education. So if I begin to read Dr. Joseph Ben Yochanan, Black Man of the Nile, or if I read Dr. Amos Wilson, Psychology of the Black Child, or if I read Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the color codes, there are a whole heap of things we have to read to unlearn the rubbish that has been put in us in the early years of our lives, particularly the years of our life when we couldn't talk, when the old way and christen we and baptize we. Because the christening is a branding, you know. It's like what you call a spiritual mark that you can't even think for yourself because you're under a ghost. So we're under these spiritual wrap-ups and things that keep us confused. We're going to clear our own way. We're going to clear the fog. And we're going to liberate the endocrine system within. We're going to free up the pineal gland. We're going to let the I that is original be the I that guides the I. Metamorphosis. Yes, Jojo on the WhatsApp write a little book and send to me, but I'm going to take out the essence. He said the Rastafari movement started out to strengthen black love and black unity. And the power structure has done, is like it has force or counter force. Instead of fighting against the movement, they hijack the movement and redirect it in a direction that works for them, and them kill out the militancy. Yes, Jojo, that's a very good observation. That them couldn't really overpower Rastafari, so them really just join the movement. Because them say if you can't beat them, you join them, you know. So them hijack it and take out the militancy and water it down now to a little fun and games thing. The Virgin continued, Jojo continued by saying, so one of the first step is never to look at the world from an emotional standpoint. And they see they keep telling us again that we are such emotional people. Most of the redemption songs we sing are trying to appeal to the nature of the powers that be. But the power structures are not emotional thinkers. So when we sing to them about one love and all them things, them not hear that. The love thing, we have to get away from being emotional because emotions clouds our judgment. So it's coming down to the point where it's intellect we have to begin to sharpen and begin to do our analysis from an intellectual perspective and put the emotion things aside. Because when emotions come together, we start talking about love And when you talk about love, you're not talking about consciousness anymore. Some could feelings, thing that not grounded in anything real. Grounded in a lot of wisps and fantasies. So I can focus on care and respect and try to return some of the militancy to Rastafari. And militancy means that you're in a state of resistance to the status quo, to the plantation system, to the colorisms, to the tribalisms, in resistance to all of them kind of isms there. Yeah, that's that metamorphosis I say. Look at the time I done too. You know, Peter Mackenzie, the man always have some things to say, but always I say them text them when the program are done and I can't read it. So but my ear lies still, you know? I have no lies there. Yes, sir. Peter Mackenzie, boy, he left on the beat. So the man has said the black man has lost his way and still in the days of males. Yeah. But we'll try to find our own way. And we don't want to spend time chasing like the dog chasing them tail, you know. No, we want to stop and try to find our face there and get ourselves organized. But it's difficult until we begin to see that we're black. Without apology, without any shame. And black don't mean the color that they tell us in terms of something opposite to white. Black is a state of nature. Black is natural. It's a complete absorption of all light. So there's no color in black. Just like the water. Water is natural. Black is a state of naturality. It is the Caucasian who is colored. Because he changes color. Red, blue, yellow, green. Him have that capacity to change colors. When him blush, him get red. When him hungry, him get yellow and blue and all them kind of. Black people remain black because we are in nature. So we could embrace that blackness. It's not caused by the sun. Don't be deceived either. That the sun make we black. It's the operation of the gland in our brain called the pineal eye. Get to know your pineal. Get to know the eye. Get to know the self. Get to know the source of your own power.
Lend me some fire. We have to chase away from fire. Music and her is a healing of the nation. Sent from Jah, who we praise, evil on my left, I'll stand up and fly. Oh yeah now, Sadama Sagana.
Yeah, and I see you're making a reference to a little note. And the daughter saying we must not confuse and equate the struggle of the gay people with the struggle of the black people. The gay struggle has nothing to do with black people. The people who are struggling to define themselves as gay have a sexual orientation problem. Black people have dealt with a problem that is grounded in our racial makeup, and our oppression is felt because of our historical realities. So a lot of people trying to conflate their own struggles with black struggle. The black struggle is the black struggle. And the racist people who promote the ideology of inferiority will always try to confuse us. So they try to confuse gay rights and human rights with the rights of black people. Black people rights are supreme. It has nothing to do with your sexuality. And we will not be confused. We say power to the black people. The way the black struggle is so intense, there is a word called OGLE, O-G-L-E. It means to look at flirtatiously or impertinently or to stare at. This was a law in the United States where BLACKMAN got lynched for ogling. Meaning the black man walking on the street and look across the street and look into somebody's backyard and them lock him up, them say, looking at the woman underwear. That's where the struggle is for black people, you know. When the police stop the black man, he's murdered on the spot. When them run, them shoot him. They go into the house and shoot him by mistake. And you're going to try to equate that struggle with people fighting to have sex with each other and calling it a gender struggle. We refuse to be confused. We will not join in no other side struggle. We are struggling for black rights, the rights of black people to have a right on the earth, to have clean air and fresh food and medicine, and critically, money. Yeah, black people want money. And the white man, them control the banks. They do the printing. We want money. Next program, we work out a formula, how to get money. Yes. So you hear me now? Just stay healthy. Don't be weak. Be strong. Even though them tell you say you're working for the weak. You be strong. And be stronger. And be stronger. Metamorphosis.
Good vibes infiltrate. Even when it's dark, don't you ever have no fear, yeah. Cast away your troubles, I say, just for a moment. Or